My topic is on sustainable design and construction. What is sustainability? Sustainability, in a simple form, can be defined as a desire to carry out design and construction with depleting resources or having harmful impacts. That is, the natural resources like water and whatever the energy that we speak of are depleting. Hence, we require to be having concern about these depleting resources and having harmful impacts for people and their living and for construction also. During construction and maintenance and demolition, complete. That's what sustainability is. Sustainability stands on three pillars. The attributes are social, economic, as well as environment. Without these three pillars, the sustainability cannot stand. Like even if one column is not there, it is not in equilibrium or it is not unstable. So for it to be stable, we have to have all the three: social, economic, and environmental attributes. What is this human or the social attributes? Human sustainability maintains and improves the human capital in society. Health, education system, access to services, knowledge, and skills are all human serviceability. Natural resources and spaces available are limited, and there is a need to balance this growth with improvements to health and economic well-being for everyone. Social sustainability is gained less importance, and there is a need to improve social sustainability through education, employment, economic welfare, stakeholders, empowerment, etc. That's about the social attribute. Next, the economic sustainability aims at improving the standard of living. Economic sustainability is important to make the concept of sustainability a long-term solution. And the last but not the least, which has been given too much of importance for the sustainability, is the environment. Environment sustainability aims to improve human welfare through the protection of nature, that is land, air, the water, mineral, etc. Not encompassing the need of future generation. This is very important. We need not have to completely utilize and not leaving anything to the future generation. It is concerned about conserving only already limited to resources, developing eco-friendly products, ensuring quality, water, and air for everybody, and reducing waste and pollution. All these three are important attributes, which I've already said. And given one is missing, it is useless. With this background on sustainability, now I'll present my agenda, whatever that I'll be presenting to you. I will briefly introduce again to this concept of sustainability, then design considerations, while I'll give example how a sustainable building can be designed. I have not worked out it, but I'll give you how it can be taken up. I will share some of my experiences with the restoration project, then construction methods and practices, wherein I'll speak on construction methods and materials. Finally, I conclude along with the references. So, where did all this sustainability started? In fact, this was for the concept was first given by a German scientist during 1743. That's where it started. But it is in 1980, this concept of sustainability conceptuated. People were started speaking on this sustainability during 90 and a little later. But one of the commission's report, which was constituted by UNO, known as the Brundtland Report, that initiated the concept of sustainability, having agreed to introduce in codal provisions in 1987. In that direction, quite a few architectural bodies started with this sustainability concept, but it was in 1996, this sustainability development was defined by American Society of Civil Engineers. It's in 2012, India felt the need of this sustainability, and it conceptualized the need for standard in the international dialogues and conference, which was held during 2012. Later on, this concept was accepted by the National Building Code of India, and during 2016, it introduced the concept of sustainability in the National Building Code of India, Part 11. I will tell you that a little more later. So, today, this sustainability has been introduced and is being tried to be implemented in every corner of the society. In building industry or even in civil engineering, this concept of sustainability is not new. We have been following some of the concepts of sustainability in civil engineering during design and construction, but it was informal. Now, the need has come that it has to be formal. Hence, the codal provisions are being introduced in this sustainability. In looking at the features of all these codes and policies, which emphasizes more on green building concepts, there is not much scope for civil engineers, more particularly to structural engineers. Here I would be wrong if I say totally not included for civil engineers. For construction purposes, yes, there are quite a few sustainable attributes, but not much emphasis has been given for structural engineers. Though not much importance has shown in codes for structural engineering, during my lecture, I will show the importance of structural engineering, which will have been shown as hidden. And the guidelines and sustainability or green building design has been incorporated. At this point of juncture, I would like to mention that this concept of sustainability has not been included in quite a few statements or the policies of the organization. It's more on the green building concept, that is, wherein more of architectural aspects are included in this green building concept. It is only in sustainability they speak more of structure and the structural design and construction. Of late, it is the need of, however, that the topic sustainability is gaining importance. Till now, it was not much shown interest, but now it is gaining importance. It is creating awareness among engineers, contractors, and stakeholders. What is sustainable design? Sustainable design has been used in multiple disciplines in almost every walk of life. It is being included, like product design, architectural, and graphic design, and civil engineering design. Sustainability design refers to the design process that integrates an environmental friendly approach and considers nature resources as part of the design. This I have told you already, but it has been put in a different manner. Sustainability design refers to design process that integrates an environmental friendly approach. This aspect, that it integrates an environmental friendly approach, is very important and considers natural resources as part of the design. The role of designers is that we must understand our critical role in sustainable world. One of the designer's role is to solve the problems and provide innovative solutions to the structure. This is what we can do in sustainable building design. Whatever the architect will have perceived, we can design it in a proper manner and give the solution. Sustainable design practice principles are these: optimize site potential, etc., which I will leave one after the other. Optimizing site potential. It is creating a sustainable building through sustainable design. The location of a site affects large number of environmental factors such as accessibility and energy consumption. This second aspect, that energy consumption, is given enough importance in sustainability. While optimizing, designer must consider site security, location of access, parking, vehicle barriers, and other security measures. Except for transportation, the building materials like timber, steel, and concrete does not consume any non-renewable energy when once they are installed. Here, I would like to give more importance to this phrase, that when once they are installed. But this timber and steel doesn't consume much of, timber doesn't consume any non-renewable energy at all, whereas steel consumes some renewable energy during production. But the concrete consumes enough of natural resources, that is non-renewable energy, till placing of the concrete. But when once the concrete is placed, it doesn't consume any non-renewable energy. That's one of the reasons why this concrete is called as a sustainable material, though it consumes too much of non-renewable energy and produces enough of carbon dioxide, that 1 ton of manufacturing of cement would give rise to 1 ton, almost 1 ton or little more than that, carbon dioxide to the atmosphere. Usage of construction material like timber and steel are certified green building materials, while concrete is sustainable. I told you that steel as well as the timber are certified as building materials, green building technology, whereas concrete is known as a sustainable material, resource efficient and friendly material, and is a natural building material. If precast construction is adopted, there are umpteen number of advantages. If you look into internet, more than 100 uses, the advantages are shown. But main is that waste dust output is minimum during production and no wastage at site. It is amenable for reuse, low impact construction. Timber and steel does not require water during its construction or during time of the structure, whereas concrete requires water during production, that is casting and curing. Can be done with tertiary water. Enhancing the door environmental quality is generally with respect to the architects, but what structural engineers or civil engineers can be done. is providing sufficient quality ventilation, using building products that do not emit pollutants, using appropriate design to avoid reverberation. Here, whatever that I'm speaking, whatever the principle that I'm speaking is all relevant to only civil engineering. I have avoided specifically or purposefully those of the importance that has to be given for the architecture. I concentrate more on civil engineering aspects. This is another very important aspect, optimizing operational maintenance cost. It can be attained by making use of such material that requires no repairs and maintenance. A durable building consideration aspect given in codes and other procedures, which does not require maintenance. Use appropriate technology to safeguard the structural elements. Use the cover, the paint which will not harm the structural elements like volatile organic compounds, which is generally the case in case of paints. Life cycle cost analysis. This is the one that we take into consideration for the structural analysis and design. That life cycle cost analysis is a method for assessing the total cost of facility ownership. It consists of acquiring, owning, and disposing of building or building system itself. Though principal cost of sustainable construction is more, the long-term effect of the building is sustainable. To make the buildings sustainable, we require to initiate certain aspects which calls for cost. Hence, initial investment will be more, but in a long run, that is during the operation and maintenance, it substantiates. The purpose of low life cycle cost analysis is to estimate the overall cost of the project alternatives, select the design that ensure the facility at the lowest overall cost of ownership, consistent with its quality and function during material selection, inception, construction, operation, and demolition. This life cycle cost analysis encompasses at every stage during since inception, that is, while taking out the material itself or while taking out the raw materials to the demolition. This is what the life cost analysis is. There are numerous costs associated with acquiring, operating, maintaining, disposing of building or building system. Building related costs usually, I'm sorry, I am unable to see this last, wait. Yeah. Disposing of a building or building system, building related costs usually fall into these categories. That is initial costs. Initial cost relates to purchase, acquisition of sites, construction costs. Later, you have the fuel costs, operation maintenance and repair costs, replacement costs. Replacement costs, in fact, comes under operation maintenance itself, but replacement costs, residual values, release or salvage values are disposal costs, that is at the time of disposal, finance charges, that is loan interest and payments. Here, one requires to consider even the professional charges. Lastly, non-monetary benefits or costs that are concerned with the construction. After identifying all these costs by year and amount and discounting them to present value, they are added to arrive at total life cost cycle cost for each alternative. The formula that we can use to calculate the life cycle cost is I plus REPL minus RES plus E plus W plus OM and R plus O, where this LCC is the life cycle cost. I is the PV, that is present value investment cost. REPL is the present value capital replacement cost. RES is the PV, that is present value residual value less deposit cost. E is the present value of energy cost. W is the present value of water cost. OM&R, that is present value of non-fuel operating maintenance and repair cost. O is the present value of other cost, that is contract cost, which I told you a little earlier. Now, this equation can be utilized to calculate the life cycle cost. Now, how to calculate this EW, etc.? That is present value of energy cost, present value of water cost. There are innumerable methods that are available in the literature, how you can calculate all these aspects. With these aspects, I go into the analysis and design of structures. While analyzing a structure, only economy can be achieved by considering comparatively thin sections with higher strength of material and structural configuration and the structural system. What is that we do in analysis of a structure? We conceive the structure, and then for which we provide the cross sections along with other sizes for each member, which has to withstand the load and the orientation of these structural members. And then we analyze it for the effects of these members when it is loaded. So we can only economize the cost of the form. Once the structural analysis is made during the design of structure, environmental aspects are considered and achieved by contemplating appropriate properties of the material. Once the material of construction is chosen, then economy can also be enhanced by modifying the properties of the material. This is the second aspect. Once the structural analysis is made, we will have decided on the material. So knowing the properties of the materials, we can achieve certain aspects of sustainability. What is the first thing that we can expect in the design of the structure is that the form or the shape of the structure. For an architectural structures, that is, the structure is divided as architectural structure and civil structure. Architectural structures are those which involve architectural perspectives, that is like building, bridges, etc. Whereas the civil engineering structures or dams, roads, etc., which doesn't require the architectural perspective. So for an architectural structure, form, mass, scale, and proportion of the structure will be defined by the architect. So he designs the shape, that is the form. Later on, in consultation with the architect, structural engineer works out possible structural configurations. This is the first aspect. He should work out the structural configurations. The position, orientation, and possible sizes of the structural members will be decided consequently, providing structural solution to the form so that the form remains stable. First aspect that the structural engineer should look into is that the structure is stable and can withstand the loads that it has been envisaged for the lifetime of the structure. The cost of each of the possibilities requires to be worked out along with sustainable features, and an appropriate solution has to be found out for the architectural form. What are the aspects that we consider during the analysis and design of structural form is that the first aspect is the safety. Whatever the structure we decide or design, it should be safe enough. That's the first aspect that we consider. For the structure to be safe enough, it has to be stable. The other aspect is that it should have enough strength and stiffness. Strength and stiffness goes hand in hand. Strength and stiffness are very important. Once the stability is achieved, stability of the form, stability of joints, stability of members, all these have to be attained, then the strength and stiffness is the thing that we look into. Then once we have the strength and the stiffness, the serviceability aspect. In fact, strength and stiffness comes into serviceability itself, but cracking is not included in strength and stiffness. So that's the reason why I've said serviceability. These are the baseline of the structural design. While doing all this, we require to consider sustainability. So sustainability is an added feature in the baseline of designing of a structure. Structural engineers, while designing the structure at every phase, must keep in mind finding the solution to architectural problem. They require to look into the construction aspects along with operation, maintenance, and demolition. All these aspects must be kept in mind during the design of the farm. Sorry. A structure designed by limit state method should give proper strength and serviceability throughout its life. The limit state of collapse deals with safety of the structure, and limited state of serviceability deals with the durability of the structure. In order to satisfy the serviceability limits, whether it be steel or the concrete structure, must be serviceable and perform its intended function throughout its life. Here I would like to make a mention that the analysis and the design of steel structures, IS 800, and the design of RCC structures, IS 456, comes in handy here. If these codal provisions are followed, then automatically the serviceability factors of the limit state of serviceability is well taken care. While designing a structure to achieve sustainability, a structural engineer must have the knowledge of decrease in material consumption, create a waste management plan, encourage recycling and reuse of material, source local materials, reduce carbon prints, that is carbon emissions. These are the attributes of sustainability, and a design structural engineer has to keep in mind these aspects while designing his structural design. With these aspects of sustainability, I'll go ahead in designing a building. I'll show you how a building can be designed. I have not worked it out totally. I will show you how a structure can be designed, because too many things requires to be assumed here. Hence, I have not totally worked it out. Following methodology illustrates how a building needs to be designed sustainably. Let's consider a multi-storied commercial building of height, say about 25 to 30 meters, which would be something like 6 or 7 stories, having a rectangular plan with multiple supporting structural members. Structural system that can be chosen may vary. Now here I have the form. What is the form that I have? I have 6 to 7 stories. The building height is about 25 to 30 meters. It is rectangular in plan. It has to have multiple supporting structural members for it to be stable. Now, for supporting these loads and designing or giving life to that form, I require to assume or go ahead with the structural system. So structural system that can carry or that can be chosen may vary depending upon various parameters like economy, aesthetic, etc., which make the building sustainable. So the first and the foremost aspect that we require to look into is structural system has to be chosen by the structural engineer to satisfy the requirements of the architect. For which, let's consider, for example, 4 structural systems. 1, the cast in situ column beam construction, flat slab construction, steel construction, and precast construction, which would go well for a building which has 6 to 7 stories. If it is much more than that, say something like 10 or 12, then probably we require to look into the consideration of shear wall construction also. Anyway, here I have considered these 4 cases of alternative structural systems. With the structural system with the structural design, cost analysis and sustainable analysis, both cost analysis and sustainable analysis can be made and following tables can be prepared. What are those following tables? First is the design analysis, wherein I have the structural system, first row, in situ, flat slab, steel, and precast. I will calculate the cost of the cement concrete, steel, farmer, labor, construction time, etc., and take a decision of all these 4 structural systems. Next, I would go ahead with the sustainable analysis for these 4 structural systems with social, economical, environmental, technical, emission, energy, and then I take the decision. That is, all these aspects will have been considered in life cycle cost analysis. So with the life cycle cost analysis and the cost of individual for the design and construction is taken, and then by working out the above, one can decide with what structural system is sustainable, which proves to be cost effective and sustainable for the proposed building. However, the reduction of each of these items will vary depending upon the size of the building and other sustainability factors that I've told you a little earlier. The procedure is similar for any architectural structure. I'll tell you a little more about this architectural structure, sustainability, a little later. Now, to show you the examples which are existing, I've taken some cases of this Beijing National Stadium, Bank of America Tower, Vancouver Conservation Center West, and I'll speak on the bridge or the flyover and then sustainability in India. This is the Beijing National Stadium. This is also called the bird's nest because the conceptual design by the architect is that it should look like the bird's nest. Structurally, it was a bit difficult to conceptualize this bird's nest because you can look to the configuration of the steel structural elements, which goes heavy. So the design was a little complicated. The structural engineer has to work out each and every aspect to give the complete design of this bird's nest, that is the National Stadium. This National Stadium has several attributes of the sustainability. It has the cooling features that make it not necessary to use air conditioning. The stadium uses solar power and collects rainwater. Another aspect of sustainability can be found in its multiple uses. City capacity is about 91,000, which was the highest during that time. But now we have much better capacity, like 130,000. World's largest enclosed space at that time, it was then also the world's largest steel structure. It has consumed 21,000 tons, if I remember right. It is provided with a large mixed-use retail development. Beneath the stadium features shops, restaurants, cinemas, a health club, and parking. These are all the architectural features of this Beijing National Stadium. But structurally speaking, I told you, each and every aspect has been worked out in detail. Here, I would like to mention another aspect, that a structural engineering should also look into the constructability. That is, it is not nearly enough if one can design the structure. He is also required to look into the aspect of construction. The design, whatever the concept that has been given to the design, it must be able to be implemented also. It so happened in or while constructing Indira Gandhi Stadium at Nodule, there were so many members. It was difficult for the contractor to weld those members at one particular joint. So this was brought to the knowledge of the structural engineer later on, and then he modified the design, and then he made it constructible. So since then, this constructability has been coined. So the structural engineer has to look into these aspects. This New York Tower is a 55-story above and 3-story below, 365 meters building completed in 2009. This is the third largest building in New York City. This isolating glass keeps heat inside the building, while energy efficient LED lights illuminate only when there is not enough daylight. The tower was built using recycled and reusable materials. This is one of the important aspects which sustainability covers. The tower was built using recycled and reusable materials, and it has a gray water system that collects and uses rainwater. But more interesting and impressive feature is that this building filters the air coming in, and when this air is released again, it is actually cleaner than the city air itself. So such clean air is breathed by the inmates of this Bank of America tower. These are again the architectural attributes. Structurally, there's not much to say apart from a regular structural system that has been made use of. Mainly it is steel structures. Upper stories are all steel structures, and even the shear wall has been provided here. But the architectural features are much more, and this has claimed what is called as LEED Platinum score, which I'll mention a little later. The third aspect, the third building that I take up is the Vancouver Convention Center West. It is the first LEED Platinum certified convention center. What is that LEED? That is leadership in energy and environmental design. Now, this is one of the important certification all over the world, which has been recognized. This was given to this Vancouver Convention Center in 2010. This building boasts the largest living roof in the world, containing over 400,000 plants, which has been planted above the roof. All wastewater is reclaimed and recycled to be used in the building and irrigate the roof. Another cool feature is that the roof features 60,000 bees that provide honey for the convention center's restaurant. They have the vertical gardening, functional, beautiful, and green. As you could have made out here, nothing much to be specified about the structure. Here, the importance is given more for the architectural features than the structural features, except that the regular features, like, for example, here you can observe the columns are inclined columns. So the design of these inclined columns is a little different from that of the vertical columns. So apart from such features, there's not much in structural engineering. Again, while giving these features of containing water or reusing water, it has all been given in the basement or even the below itself. So a structural engineer has to look into all these while providing the foundation. So these are the aspects that the structural engineer has to consider for giving a sustainable building. Now, this GCT, that is Green Construction Technology, is certified only for the buildings. It is not for any other structure than buildings. Though the architectural the architectural structure is building, bridges, this consideration has been shown for the GCT, whereas sustainable attributes are there which can be followed while designing the bridges, like repair, rehabilitation, reuse, etc., and then maintaining costs, etc. Those attributes can be used for designing the bridges and flyovers. At this juncture, again, I want to mention one aspect that sometime back, one of the bridges was designed between Dubai and Bahrain. It was totally designed just before commissioning this bridge or construction itself. One question was posed that there were what is known as sea cows in Dubai waters. That sea cows are they can live only in Dubai waters. They cannot live elsewhere. It is almost getting to extinct. So there was a concern that how to save these sea cows so that it will not become extinct totally. At that stage, the project was stopped. I don't know what happened later on, but this shows biodiversity in designing of structures. India has not lagged behind in the sustainability considerations or the constructions. This CI Sorabji Godrej Green Business Center, which has been established in Hyderabad, was given a LEED certificate during 2004 itself. So we are not lagging behind. In fact, this Suzlon One Earth Pune, though it did not claim any LEED certification, it is also completely designed according to sustainability, which was constructed during 2010. Later on, quite a few number of buildings have been constructed, like ITC Maurya, New Delhi, Jawaharlal Nehru Bhavan, New Delhi again, ITC Green Center, which has been constructed in Gurgaon. These are several constructions that have been made in India also. Of late, some of these developers are going for this sustainability construction so that they can sell their flats much better. Self-reliance is a common theme of sustainable design. For example, buildings that produce their own energy with solar technologies or a community designed to grow its own fresh vegetables is called the self-reliance. In fact, there have been buildings which do not consume any outside energy at all. Energy is generated within the building itself for making use of in the building itself. Social design is the practice of considering the social impact of structural designs. So while designing the structure, this social aspect should be considered. That is, depending upon the requirement of the architect, probably the orientation of columns or sizes of the beams. These are some of the considerations that the structural engineering has to look into to provide comfort for the society. The strategic design is the practice of looking at design from a big picture and long-term viewpoint. Transition design is a design approach that takes practical steps towards solving complex problems, like whatever that I showed you just now. It is the practice of designing things that take a significant period of time to achieve, requiring a number of steps. It is associated with complex problems such as sustainability and the urban design. Problems of sustainability have political, social, economic, and ecological elements that make them difficult to solve. So this transition design takes into account the political, social, economic, and ecological elements that make them very difficult to solve, because solving one, we would get the other. Anyway, a structural engineer has to look into all these aspects. That is, he has to provide a transition design. Now, the following are the indicators for social assessment of buildings. Health and comfort. I told you, whenever we look for designing a sustainable building, we look for providing comfort to the people. That is social aspect, social attribute, one of the pillars of the sustainability, health and comfort. Then the adaptability, loadings on the neighborhood. The loadings on the neighborhood is, you should see that the neighborhood is also comfortable during construction and after construction. Maintenance and requirements, safety and security, accessibility, source of material and services, stakeholder involvement. All these are important indicators for social assessment of building. Recovery of materials or energy that had been discarded or abandoned. For example, renovating an abandoned warehouse to make an attractive office space. This is total total construction itself. In fact, whatever that I showed you, that the bank building, Bank of America building, it was there was a building earlier, again a multi-story building, but it was demolished and then they reconstructed this bank building. Now, while doing this, in fact, sustainability accounts, when you have dismantled the earlier building, you should recover some of the material and you should reuse it. If you cannot reuse it, you must be able to reutilize. Those are the attributes of this sustainable construction. Recycle, designing things from materials that can be easily recycled in the communities where they are sold. If you cannot recycle, you reduce it. That is, eliminating waste from products, services, and processes to reduce the use of resources. Renewable energy is the clean energy that either the solar energy, wind energy, etc. One of the important aspects for this sustainable design is that the structure should be durable. Because I told you while working out the LCC that cost analysis, it takes up into consideration the cost that is involved during the lifetime of the structure also. Therefore, for which the structure has to be durable. Avoidance of short-term durability or performance problems like callbacks is important to the builders and designers' reputation, risk management, and business profitability. That is, this is only the short-term durability aspect which any of these designers or contractors look into, but we should look into the long-term perspective. The long-term durability of a building is important to retain its investment value as well as its continued function as safe, healthy, and aesthetic living environment. Sustainability policies and programs focused on energy efficiency or green homes are wasted efforts if these homes do not satisfy the requirements. Poor durability increases the operating and maintenance cost of the building. It's quite obvious, if it is not durable, we require to keep maintaining and the cost of the building goes up. Failure to meet reasonable expectations for durability increases liability. People don't like maintenance. New products designed or installed without adequately considering durability can prematurely fail, leading to both customer dissatisfaction and the contractor both. Next aspect is the design life. In India, our codal provisions do not speak anything about the design life, except that in IS 875 part 3, while designing the wind loads, it says for considering the design velocity, while you calculate the design velocity, VB, no, VB is the base wind load. Vz is equal to VB into K1, K2, K3, where K1 is the risk factor. While considering the risk factor, IS 875 says that 5 years, 25 years, 50 years, and 100 years. 100 years for monument and very important buildings like hospitals, etc. 50 years is the duration of any structure to be sustained. Then temporary structures are 25 years or 5 years. Whereas this Eurocode 0 gives indicative lives for various types of structures category. Temporary structures for 10 years, replaceable structural parts 10 to 25 years, agricultural and similar buildings for 30 years, building structure and other common structures is 50 years. Monumental buildings, bridges, etc. have to be designed for 100 years. Even in Eurocode, the regular building structures, they say it has to be designed to last long for 50 years. Now, how to design the building structure to be retained for 50 years or 100 years? We cannot pinpoint that, but by considering the durable aspects, we can say that the structure will live for 50 years or 100 years. So while considering or while taking up the design, these aspects have to be considered, whether it is a temporary structure or a regular structure or an important structure. And materials should also be so chosen that it is durable to that extent. Embodied energy or embodied carbon refers to the sum impact of all green emissions attributed to a material during its life cycle. The life cycle encompasses extraction, manufacturing, construction, maintenance, and disposal. I told you this embodied energy is taken into consideration while calculating life cycle costing. Codes and specification. There are quite few authorities who recognizes buildings to certify that they are sustainable. Main codal provisions are LEED, GRIHA, and BREEAM. This LEED is leadership in energy and environmental design, which I have told you, which is recognized world over, and it's almost the very first few certification programs for the green building. Here again, I mentioned that these certifications are mainly for green building technology, not for the sustainable construction. I'll tell you a little more about the sustainable and green concept technology or green construction technology. In India, it is GRIHA, that is Green Rating for Integrated Habitat Assessment. Even this GRIHA takes into account more of architectural attributes than this structure. Then you have BREEAM and LEED. They are almost same. It is again during the development of LEED, this BREEAM also came up to existence, and that's the one which is also considered for this certification. There are quite a few other things like USGBC, HQP, Verde, HQM, SQL, etc. Something like 100 or even little more than that. You have such certification programs, of which about 30 are important. Again, among them, this LEED has taken the leadership in giving the certification, and which has been recognized worldwide. Our GRIHA is a little different from that of the LEED, wherein here more importance has been given to social aspect. LEED takes up the environmental aspect, the three attributes of this sustainability, that is social, economical, and environmental. This LEED considers environmental more, whereas GRIHA takes social importance to the sustainability. That is the difference between GRIHA and LEED. And the concepts of this GRIHA is being introduced in National Building Code Part 11. National Building Code Part 11 just gives the sustainability performance indicators. It gives just an approach to the sustainability. It is not complete still. National Building Code of India, 2016, that I'm speaking, Part 11. It takes into consideration again the three pillars, which is called the aparigraha, which means the minimum possessions, then conservation, that is minimum consumption, and then lastly recycling. that is the minimum waste. These are the three attributes or the three pillars of the sustainability which has been considered in NBC of India. It is 110 now. Okay. Of these, LEED is one of the most popular around the world in green building certification. The LEED system comprises a combination of well-disciplined practices from the area of architecture, interior design, engineering, landscaping architecture, and construction. Here, engineering, I would like to emphasize a little more. I told you, during construction, we require to consider all those aspects which sustainability considers, like the importance of choosing the material, then wastage, then durable consideration while constructing and while using, and recycling, reuse, etc. These are the aspects that a construction engineer should look into. Whereas the structural engineer, I told you, social aspects like the consideration of structural members, the orientation, sizes, etc. That's what the sustainability speaks of, which is not much importance given in this LEED system. LEED certification has 4 certification. One, the basic, silver, gold, and platinum. Basic LEED has to have 40 points. Platinum has to have 80 and more, whereas the total points are 110. The category is sustainable sites, given 26 points, etc. But for us, it is material and resources, which are given 14 points. And innovation in design is given 6 points. So in all, it becomes 20 points of 110 points. The rest of the points are given to more of architectural aspects, like sustainable sites, water efficiency, energy in the atmosphere, indoor environmental quality, regional priority, etc. They are the ones which are considered for giving points to the LEED certification. Generally, whatever be the certification program, the requirements remain same with little changes that they require for the country. I told you, in India, it is GRIHA, the national policy for green building. GRIHA attempts to minimize a building's resource consumption, waste generation, and overall ecological impact to within certain nationally accepted limits. In fact, while creating this GRIHA, much discussion went into, and it was felt that our Indian needs are quite different from the needs of the developed countries. So in that perspective, GRIHA is little different from that of LEED or any of the other total provisions. Evaluation is certified by number of stars. Here it is again different. Here it is stars, where there it is the points. Because GRIHA evaluates the environmental performance of a building holistically over its entire life cycle, importance of structural engineering creeps in that it is he who designs the structure to sustain decades or centuries. That's the importance of structural engineering or structural design, that the structure will be designed to withstand the loads and the harmful effects of the environment for the number of years that it has to withstand. Next, I would take up repair and rehabilitation retrofitting for sustainability. Before going to this railway bridge, I would like to make a mention of one of the designs which was made 6 years back for 38 meters span. A structural steel system was provided. While providing, instead of going for single span, it was thought for double span because it decreased the magnitude of steel consumption to 12%. So it was designed as two-span for 38 meters. It was functioning well, but recently on January 26th, it caught fire. It was a packing industry wherein the packaging material was stacked there and it got burnt. You are aware that the temperature at which this paper burns is about 450 degrees Celsius. And it has burned for about 24 plus 6, 30, 42 hours. Because it was designed for two-bay structure, it could withstand this heat. Otherwise, it would have collapsed. Anyway, next, I would speak on a railway bridge. This is a railway bridge which was recently constructed in Bangalore, in Karnataka. You can see that a portion of the railway bridge, the approach has collapsed. Now, this has to be rehabilitated. There are quite a few designs which were given for this railway approach. This is the one which gives a cost-effective solution. Now, this is the plan, in fact, wherein you can see these two are the columns, which you can see in the photograph. Now, these are the embankments, both sides. And this is what has been proposed. This is the proposed. This proposition is the retaining wall. You will have seen retaining walls of cantilever and then counterfort. Here, there is an innovation that this retaining wall is not of those two. It is called the pressure relief shelf. Here, the concept of the retaining wall is little different, that it will have shelves. These are called the shelves, which is loaded by which is considered by the earth fill or the concrete, such that the pressure exerted on the wall is less as compared to the pressure exerted on this slab of the relief shell. This is the cross section of this structure, rehabilitation structure. You can see a few more slides. These are the pressure relief shells that have been designed, and this is the wall. So these shells will have the loading from the soil, and it will also be connected to the bottom. Therefore, the friction between the shelf as well as either the soil or the concrete will hold this relief shelf, and the pressure exerted on this wall become less, and it can hold. This design concept cost something like 1 crore and 50 lakhs, whereas the general designs of providing the pins or any of geogrids, etc., would cost something like 4 crores or even more. Therefore, this is an innovative and cost-effective rehabilitation that has been looked into, which is a sustainable one. Here, though we do not claim any of these certificates, the qualifications of the sustainability has been looked into the rehabilitation. Sustainable here, other bridge I've told you, steel structure I told you. This is the railway bridge. I think that's enough. Sustainable construction is creating and operating a healthy built environment based on resource efficiency and ecological design. Constructions has a direct impact on the environment for the following reasons: generation of waste materials, emissions from vehicles, machineries, noise pollution due to use of heavy vehicles and construction machineries, release of waste and pollutants into water, ground, and atmosphere. In fact, this generation of waste materials, it is said 35 to 40% of the total waste is from the construction industry. It includes the demolition of buildings also. Sustainability in construction. Sustainability in building construction can be achieved by biodiversity enhancement, support to the community, effective use of resources, pollution reduction, creating healthy environment, process management. The biodiversity enhancement constructions must stop threatening use of environment or species wherever possible so that the natural habitat is not affected. I gave you the example of sea cows. Such things should be avoided. Effective use of resources, overconsumption of resources like land, money, use, or disposal must be stopped. Wastage of resources, materials, water, poor design should not be recommended. Use of river sand and gravel must be restricted. Anyway, that we have taken care already. We are going for manufactured sand rather than the river sand. Today, because of depletion of river sand, we are already using M sand as a replacement. Reduction in use of polluting products like transportation, fuel, using machinery, etc., can be avoided. Production of construction waste has to be reduced. That you cannot totally eradicate it, you can only reduce it. Reuse of construction waste, in other words, should be encouraged. Whatever that can neither be utilized nor recycled, I told you already, should be disposed of in a responsible manner, or if it can be recycled again, it has to be recycled. Work environment should be made good. Working hours should be stimulated, and enough leisure should also be provided. It is said around 40% of the total energy consumption and greenhouse gas emissions are directly due to the construction and operation of buildings. To reduce this impact, sustainability procedures have to be followed. This aspect of creating a healthy environment has been more emphasized in GRIHA than LEED or any of those certifications. In fact, GRIHA also suggests housing should be given for the working people and the construction place itself. Process management targets, benchmarks, and tools along with the proper management will yield sustainability in construction. Sustainable constructions can be achieved by two aspects, that is the construction methods and the construction materials. First, I'll speak on the construction methods. Later on, I'll take up the construction materials. Sustainable construction techniques are prefabricating materials in controlled environments. In fact, making use of these prefabricated materials or precast materials in construction will solve quite a few problems or quite a few aspects that whatever sustainability speaks of. Construction waste management, reducing waste is becoming more achievable for contractors. Managing the site for improved environment. Lean manufacturing to reduce energy. These are the sustainable construction methods. First is the prefabricating technique. Prefabrication is prefabricating, that is making or getting ready with all the structural joineries, etc., beforehand itself, which can be taken to the site and start using. Or we can take the structural members and assemble at the site. Or we can also make prefabricates. These structural elements are called prefabricates. These prefabricates can be made at the site or near the site and can be assembled in the site itself. Various materials are used for this prefabrication purposes. The first is the timber which is being used since ages. But because of the scarcity, this wood is used little, or the timber is used little. We are also using steel in the construction industry, particularly for industrial structures. One of the problems we face in India is that the construction cost is more for steel, as well while comparing the cost of construction for the concrete. And durability of steel is that it gets affected environmentally, that it gets rusted. So it keeps to be maintained it quite often. Whereas concrete has the advantage over these structural materials. So this concrete prefabricating technology is known as the precast concrete. Precast concrete products perfectly encapsulate sustainability. I told you, most of the principles that have been set in sustainability is satisfied by making use of precast concrete. Precast concrete is environmentally sound, economical to use, and contributes to social responsibility. It reduces the amount of materials used reusing construction processes like molds and forms, while recycling materials such as concrete aggregates and additives. These precast construction members are the manner in which you can go ahead with this precast construction. Either you can go in for beam and column concept, or wall panels, or you can go in for precast slabs. There are what are known as sandwich panels, box construction. These sandwich panels are much better to take care of thermal efforts and moisture gradient. That's the reason why we can use sandwich panels conveniently in precast construction, which is not so easy in the case of cast in situ construction. This box construction, it is a 3D volumetric construction wherein each room or complete building itself can be prefabricated or precast, assembled, and then it can be lifted and placed at the site. Then some of the elements like staircases, etc., like or lintels, plinths, etc., they can be precast. This 3D printing concept, which is quite new, can be conveniently be adopted in the case of precast construction, whereas it is quite difficult in the case of cast in situ construction if the construction is quite large. Construction waste management can be achieved by reducing, reusing, or recycling the material. Encouragement of best management practices include reduce waste of unnecessary water bottles, recycle of aluminum, paper, and other acceptable recyclable material. The district goal achievement would be maintaining air quality standards for public health and environmental protection, promote climate action, energy conservation strategies, enhance public and community relations, and promote environmental justice. These are the ones that are included for the construction and not for the structural design. Lean manufacturing. What is a lean manufacturing? Lean manufacturing conceptualizes to minimize waste and maximize productivity. In fact, this lean manufacturing has been talked much more in mechanical industry rather than civil engineering. This concept of lean manufacturing was given by Ford in 1904. Anyway, the principles of this lean manufacturing is the value, life cycle cost, create flow, that is removing barriers. You should not have any barriers. But once you start constructing, you should have free flow until the completion of the construction. Not merely that, and even during maintenance or using condition of the building, there should not be much of repairs, and like establish pull system, that is during the casting of the materials. Perfection should be achieved in the construction. whatever the principles that we adopt for this sustainability, perfection has to be looked into. The ways of lean manufacturing are the unnecessary transportation, excess inventory. That is, you should not have too much of the construction material unnecessarily. Unnecessary movement of people, waiting. People are equipment. People are equipment should not keep waiting. The construction should have creating flow. Create flow, I have told you. It should have flow, free flow of flow. Free flow of flow for construction. Overproduction should not be there. Over processing should not be there. Defects requiring costly repair, either during construction or after the construction, should not exist. I think my time is getting over. I think I'll be able to complete another 5-10 minutes. Technique for sustainable construction is by the fast construction, cost-effective construction. Here, I would like to say there are two ways of looking at the construction. One is the cost-effective construction. The other one is the low-cost construction. Low-cost construction cannot be sustainable. It is only the cost wherein it is looked into. Particularly, this low-cost construction is done for temporary sheds and like. Cost-effective construction should be looked into. The durable aspects that we have discussed already: durability, enhanced occupational health and safety, construction waste management, less waste, managing the site for improved environment, lean manufacturing to reduce energy. We talked material selection, material conservation, minimize resource consumption, maximum material reuse. To achieve most of these, we can go in for prefabrication or precast concrete tech. Again, another important aspect that we require to look into is the forum work. The design and using this forum work is again very important, which I'll take a little later. This material section, how the material should be looked into for the selection of construction. We should look for the material which will have the green insulation, smart appliances, low emitting materials. Ramp brick earth can be made use for the construction purpose, which will enhance the points of sustainability. Self-compacting concrete, self-curing compound, self-healing concrete, high-performance concrete, manufactured sand, additives. All of this can be looked into if you are making use of concrete. Demolition waste, I told you, 35 to 40% of the total waste is because of this construction material itself. There has been attempts to make use of this demolished waste in construction. So far, we are not being successful to a greater extent. Some portion of the demolition waste, to the extent of about 20%, again, which is processed, can be made use in construction of buildings. Some amount of this demolition waste can be made use in making roads, etc. Forum work design, I told you, is very important. Forum work is one of the important construction methods in building construction, which influences the sustainable construction. The design engineer should have complete knowledge of structure and sustainability to implement this. Anyway, I'm not saying that. For the forum work to be sustainable, following factors have to be considered: accessibility to the work, quality, surface finish, capital cost, safety, lifespan, exposure to environment, and labor cost. Again, very important aspect is the water efficiency techniques. By using small behavioral changes to reduce water wastage and by choosing more water efficient products. Inefficient use of water curing or for preparing concrete. Usage of proper plumbing devices at site. Using tertiary treated water for construction. In fact, at Bangalore, BWSSP, that Bangalore water supply, is supplying tertiary water to be used in construction, which goes a long way in water efficiency techniques. Using grey water for toilets and like, which we have been following, water conservation through aquifers, rainwater harvesting, ground recharge from the surface water, water efficient grey water recycling system, recycling water. I would like to mention that Israel is recycling water to the extent of 90%. I think that's the only country which is reusing the water to such an extent. Prevention and adoption of GCT, sustainability. Now, this prevention of adoption of this green construction technology or the sustainability in any of the country is because of these. But whatever that I'm speaking, these 5 points is the result of the Chinese engineers. This has been published in a very recent journal on 8th of June. The first aspect is the lack of government incentives. Anyway, there are again information on this lack of government incentives, extra costs associated with GCTs, dependence on traditional construction technology. In fact, this is what one of the main aspects that is considered. A shortage of technological training for project staff. This is again, which is true, and conflicts of interest among stakeholders in GCT adoption, which I already told you while saying traditional design. No, transitional design. Concluding, involvement of structural engineers in attaining sustainability depends on the size and type of structure. It is not the immediate need that the designer should look into, but should have a goal that the structure should serve safe, efficient, and last for long years, environmentally, and prove sustainability. Choosing appropriate design and selecting apt materials. The designers and contractors should imbibe best practices of sustainability. The design should enable improved performance. Sustainability involves professionals from other related fields, which enhances the team collaboration. These are some of the references. I have taken most of the information from the internet, but I have quoted very few references. Thank you.